You know how it is. There's a big task looming, and suddenly organizing your sock drawer feels like the most important job in the world. We've all been there. But what if the secret to beating procrastination wasn't about finding more willpower, but just having a smarter plan? Well, today we're going to break down one super simple but powerful technique that basically makes starting a task automatic.
Seriously, think about it. Ever had that feeling? You spend hours thinking about the thing you have to do, negotiating with yourself, feeling guilty about not doing it, all that mental energy, when you could have just spent 30 minutes and gotten it done. It is absolutely exhausting.
And that right there, that's what we call the procrastination trap. See, it's not really about being lazy. The real hidden cost is that constant low-level stress and what psychologists call decision fatigue. Every single time you think, ugh, I really should do that, but you don't, you're just chipping away at your mental energy for the day. But here's the big game-changing idea. What if you could just bypass that whole internal debate? The should I or shouldn't I argument you have in your head? What if starting could feel less like a huge, monumental decision and more like a simple reflex, like brushing your teeth? Well, you can. The solution is a scientifically backed technique called implementation intentions. Now, I know it sounds super academic and complicated, but trust me on this, the actual idea behind it is incredibly simple and honestly really powerful. So, what is it, really? An implementation intention is just a fancy way of saying you decide ahead of time exactly when and where you're going to do something. So, you're not just saying, oh, I'll study later. No, you're giving your brain a very clear, very precise set of instructions to follow. And why does this work so well? Well, a few reasons. First, it pretty much automates the act of starting. The decision's already been made, so when the time comes, you just do it. This completely slashes that decision fatigue we were talking about. And over time, it creates this really strong link in your brain where the time and place become a trigger, a cue that automatically kicks off the behavior you planned. Okay, so that's the theory. Enough of that. Let's get practical. How do you actually build one of these action triggers for yourself? It really all comes down to a dead simple formula: when, where, what. It's literally just 3 steps. Step 1, you have to get super specific about the task. No vague goals allowed. Step 2, pinpoint an exact time and an exact place. And step 3, you just smush them all together into a simple trigger statement. That's it.
And to make this crystal clear, let's walk through a classic scenario, one we can all relate to, a student who really needs to start studying for a big exam.
Okay, look at the difference here. A normal vague goal is study biology. Useless. A specific task is revise the first half of chapter 5, pages 90 to 100. The when isn't just sometime this evening, it's 6 p.m. sharp. The where isn't just at home, it's at my study desk in my bedroom. That level of detail, that's the magic ingredient right there. And boom, here it is, your action trigger. This one little sentence becomes a preloaded command for your brain. So when the clock hits 6 and you're at your desk, there's no debate, there's no negotiation. Your brain already knows exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Yeah, that sounds great in a perfect world, but my life is chaotic. What happens when things go wrong? And that is a totally fair question. So let's troubleshoot some of the most common ways a plan can get derailed. So, roadblock number 1, life happens. Your perfect 6 p.m. study plan is all set, and then your friend calls with an emergency, and everything gets thrown off. What do you do then? The key here is not to just give up on the day and say, oh well, I'll try again tomorrow. Nope. The second you know your plan is disrupted, you pull out your calendar and you immediately reschedule. Find another specific slot, maybe it's 8:30 p.m. at the kitchen table. This keeps your commitment alive and maintains that forward momentum. All right, next scenario. What if the problem isn't some big interruption you just forget? You get distracted, you look up at the clock, and it's suddenly 7 p.m. You completely missed your trigger. This is where you can get really clever. You can stack your new intention onto a habit you already have locked down. For instance, instead of 6 p.m., your trigger could be, when I finish washing my dinner plate, I will go to my desk and revise chapter 5. That old automatic habit acts like a powerful built-in alarm for the new one. And for our final challenge, what if you're just struggling with that whole be specific thing? What if revise chapter 5 still feels way too big and overwhelming? If you get stuck, don't overthink it. Just fall back on that core formula, but make the what ridiculously small. Focus on one single tiny action. Your plan could be as simple as this:
At 6 p.m. at my desk, I will open my textbook to page 90. That's it. Because a lot of the time, just taking that first tiny step is all you need to get the ball rolling.
So let's wrap this all up. If you remember nothing else, remember these three things. First, procrastination usually isn't a character flaw, it's a battle against decision fatigue. Second, your best weapon in that battle is a super specific when, where, what plan. And third, making that plan ahead of time automates the single hardest part of any task, just getting started.
So, this isn't just some interesting idea to think about, it's a tool for you to use. So, I'll leave you with this question. What's that one task you've been putting off forever? Think about it right now. What is your when, where, what trigger going to be to finally get it started tomorrow?